Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow conservatives. Welcome, fellow patriots. But in an effort to make this bipartisan, I'll try to address you the way, say, someone on the other side might. Like Hillary, for example. She'd call you fellow deplorables and rock dwellers. I think Obama would call you bitter clinger honors or just bad people. Biden would welcome you as chumps. Other Democratic leaders have called us such things as squealing pigs, hostage takers, terrorists, saboteurs, arsonists. They all have lots of stuff to say. You know what? Bipartisanship's overrated. These people really are unhinged. But to you, our patriotic Americans who are maligned specifically because you believe in the value of the Constitution and freedom, all I can say is welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio and television show. I am George Landreth, and of course, she is Melissa Isaac, and we're glad you joined us. This is the place to be. Melissa, it's always a pleasure to do the show with you, and I have to say it's one of my favorite things in a given week is to be able to be on Conservative Commandos and to share the microphone with you.
Thank you, George. I appreciate that, and I feel the same way. I like coming on here and talking about what really we talk about common sense things, but apparently, we're in the minority when it comes to any sort of media. But yeah, I love coming on here. And what I like talking about things that we never get to hear about or even talk about in the mainstream media. Trump sent out a tweet, and he was talking about Section 230 of the United States Code, 47, and it's about liability. Well, really, it's a liability. It's a gift given to big tech, I think is how Trump put it. But, so the reason I think Conservative Commandos even arose up is because there's, nothing in the media concerning our issues or what's conservative to us. But then, one bad thing about being on the alternative media is they can censor your posts, censor the information, and take down the information. And so we wonder, well, people say, well, I'm going to sue Facebook. Well, you can't really sue Facebook, right? Because this Section 230 really insulates them and gives them liability from being able to be sued. So that's something huge, I think, that the American people need to talk about and understand. And what do we do with the Section 230? Do we repeal it? Do we amend it? Do we scrap it? What do we do? So I know a lot of our followers, a lot of our listeners are tired of the censorship and their posts getting taken down for violating community standards. Right. And what are the community standards, and who makes these community standards? That's the question.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, in fact, the Conservative Commandos has been, put in Facebook jail for, quote, violating community standards. And to put this in perspective, we're broadcast over FCC regulated airwaves, so we can't use potty words and all that. And that's fine. I'm not really into that thing anyhow. But the bottom line is, whatever their community standards are, they're really high because,
these community standards, okay, so let's look at what the code says, Section 230, Section C2, that's what it actually does with civil liability. Okay, Section C2A says any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access to or availability of material that the provider, this is Twitter, Facebook, whoever, or user considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable. Whether or not such material is constitutionally protected or not, they have the right to take it down. So let's focus on that. Or otherwise objectionable. Objectionable to who? What does that mean? So you post something that is politically objectionable to whoever this person behind, the curtain is, who's making these judgment calls, and they can take it down. And there is a layer of liability where you can't sue them. It's not a violation of First Amendment because of this Section 230. So that's what it hinges on, otherwise objectionable. So if it's not obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, well, then it's got to be otherwise objectionable. But what does that even mean?
Right,
and of course,
otherwise objectionable.
It can't keep up with technology. It can't. This is an old law.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's what it comes down to is obviously the Conservative Commandos got in trouble with Facebook. They later were like, "Oh, we made a mistake. We're sorry." 3 months later, they let us out of Facebook jail. But the bottom line is, they, what it was is they just don't like the fact that we're conservative.
Right.
We didn't use bad language. We didn't promote violence. We didn't promote any of the kind of things that you would normally associate with, oh, that shouldn't be there. And but it was otherwise objectionable. In other words, those doggone people, they support the Constitution, individual liberty. They like the idea of conservative judges. Enough of that foolishness. We got to take this down. It's like, okay, wow. Because I wouldn't advocate doing that to, if you had like DNC TV. If someone asked me, George, should the government censor DNC TV, the Democratic National Committee TV, I would say no. We need to have a debate. And I think they're wrong on almost everything. And I think they're harmful to our country now. They've gotten so extreme that I think but even with that, I still don't think they should be censored, because the answer to speech I disagree with isn't to ban it. It's to actually engage in more speech and have an open and free debate and let the best ideas rise to the top. But that's not how they want to play the game.
No, not at all. So, yeah, I understand why people take issue with this Section 203 is because of that. And so who makes the judgment call? So it's someone, we don't know. They say, well, that the independent fact checkers. Who are these independent fact checkers? I would guess that there's no conservative section of Facebook or of Twitter or of YouTube that says, you know what, I disagree. I think this is just a difference of opinion. They don't exist. So who are these independent fact checkers, and what are the community standards? Because apparently it's okay to post videos where people are rioting, looting, beating other people in the street to the point that they're unconscious. Apparently that's not excessively violent because they stay up and that's part of the statute. But what is otherwise objectionable are people making videos promoting conservative values, the Constitution, and promoting Trump. That is otherwise objectionable. So this is completely
I can't believe
vague.
You're talking like this. This is a family show. You're using all this. You said the Constitution.
I'm going to get us banned.
No, it's kind of crazy. They really do act like this is profanity. How dare you use those words? Yeah. It's like, what, the Constitution? Conservative, values? Yes, stop! It's like, okay. This is what it means to be a snowflake. I mean, it's just it's very bizarre to me. Because to be honest, when you try to silence somebody, what you're really basically saying, I think, most of the time is, unless they are advocating violence or they're telling everyone how to build a nuclear bomb or something that, whatever it is. But for most political discussions, if your goal is to silence the other side, you are acknowledging that their ideas are superior to your own and you don't know how to deal with it. So you just want to shut them up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. These community standards are almost all, in my experience, have been disagreement, different opinions. A disagreement. Say, no, I disagree with you. People say, if you can defend the biblical definition of marriage, oh no, that's hate speech because you're making same-sex married couples feel bad. So we're going to go ahead and take this down. No, I mean, is it constitutionally protected speech to have that opinion, have that position? Yeah, it is. But understand, on social media, people say my First Amendment rights were violated because I was put in Facebook jail. No, right. These are independent companies. These aren't run by the government. Contrary, now the government wants it to be. But what's ironic is the right says we're being censored too much. Our stuff is being taken down. We're not allowed to have these views. That we're being censored. And then the left's criticism of Section 302 is it's not strict enough. They're like the government needs to even have more regulations and more control because there's too much hate speech out there. Of course, hate speech is otherwise defined as a difference of opinion, right?
Right. Speech with which they disagree.
Right.
It's not. I mean, it's amazing to me what is hate speech? It's like, and then they start telling you what it is. It's like, wait a minute, that just means you disagree with me on political issues. I mean, it's hate speech to say you think taxes should be lower, that the federal deficit's too high. It's just like, I'm sorry, but that's weird that you see the world this way. Or you think that human life matters.
You can say that the government shouldn't spend money that they don't have, and then you get flagged. Because you're against people on welfare. Right. I grew up on welfare. I grew up on food stamps. And I can tell you it's no way to live. I can tell you I saw firsthand all the fraud that went on, all the welfare fraud, food stamp fraud that went on. But God forbid you talk about that. because then you're against poor people.
That's hate speech. Yeah. No, you're right. I think it's we live in a very strange world. Debates ought to help us solve problems, but now you can't have that discussion. But anyhow, it's crazy. But we are up against the clock. The time flies by too fast. They say time flies by when you're having fun, and that is absolutely true when I'm on the Conservative Commandos. I have to have a clock up here, because if I don't, it seems like, 2 minutes has gone by and the full segment's gone. But I do want to remind our viewers and listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. She's Melissa Isaac. I'm George Landreth, and we will be right back.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available, and you may qualify for dental coverage and lower copays and deductibles. Make the free call now. Top quality coverage at the lowest prices anywhere. You may be paying too much and not even know it. In these troubled times, healthcare is more important than ever. Don't let another day go by without health insurance. Policies are being offered with very low copays and deductibles. So if you're uninsured, underinsured, or paying too much, call Healthcare Help Desk. Learn about your options before it's too late.
Call 800-964-1055. 800-964-1055.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to. These new Medicare Advantage plans may have many free new benefits, including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available, and it's a free call to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Benefits Line, a free non-government service. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare Benefits Line now. It's easy. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings.
Call 800-691-1655. 800-691-1655.
Medicare Benefits Line is not connected with or endorsed by any government agency or the federal Medicare program.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions Now.
Call 800-447-7570. 800-447-7570.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, carried on the AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and of course Al Gore's amazing internet. We truly are everywhere. We've got Roku channel, we've got our own website, ccrshow.com, we've got iHeartRadio, AM/FM 24/7, you name it. It's a lot of ways to find us. You'll only need one though. That's all you'll need. I'm George Landreth, and she is Melissa Isaac. She is co-hosting today. And Melissa, the clock interrupted us. It's sometimes a cruel taskmaster. And so I wanted to ask, we were talking about the Section 203 stuff, but my question is, what are some of the solutions that you think make the most sense? Because I think it's pretty clear it's not working out real well. When you lack accountability, things don't work out well. You and I are accountable. There's a reason why we, behave responsibly. And it's because if we don't, the law will hold us accountable.
That's right.
But evidently, Facebook is not going to be held accountable because of 203. 203 says, don't worry. Go ahead and drive like a bat out of hell. You run over somebody, it's not a problem. You're not responsible. Well, guess what? You get more people driving like bats out of hell when you have that be the rule. So my question would be, what do you think we should do?
I think that needs to be amended, if not repealed. But the problem is I think anytime you have a law that of course it disparately and overwhelmingly impacts one segment of your population, I think it's pretty safe to say that it's discriminatory. It's a bad provision. It's really bad provision. It's kind of like family law, just overall bad. So what I think they need to do is they need to look at that otherwise objectionable. I think they need to take that out completely. But there needs to be some more definitions. This thing is, I'm really not for more government regulation. Like, you have a government that creates a problem, and that we shouldn't look to the government for a solution to the problem that they created, because you look back and historically, they've always made everything worse. I can't think of a single government program that long-term worked out. Nothing. We are overregulated. That's one good thing that Trump did since he's been in office, is he's rolled back tons of regulations that have allowed, smaller and mid-sized businesses to, do business overseas. But I digress. So
but you do make a good point, though, that regulation is a huge burden. And as helpful as perhaps his tax cuts were, I would argue his deregulation efforts were even a bigger impact in terms of helping the economy grow so rapidly. We saw wages going up and unemployment so historically low before the COVID virus hit. So you're right, that's an important factor.
Yeah. So I don't think we should, overregulate. I don't necessarily think we should totally repeal it, but there does have to be accountability, because here we have, for instance, we have a lot of conservative businesses on Facebook. They pump their money into Facebook. You look, some of these Facebook pages, they do ads, they promote it, they give their money to Facebook, but as soon as you do something that Facebook doesn't like, then they can shut your page down and put you in jail. You can't post. That affects your livelihood. It affects your business. Or you share something. This is what I don't understand is you see something come across and it's from, I don't know, Newsmax or the Washington Post, which I notoriously don't like the Washington Post. But if you share something from their page and it's false, you're the one that gets put in Facebook jail. Well, you share, our independent fact checkers have checked this article and you just shared bad, incorrect information. Well, how are we supposed to know, first of all, as American people? There's no checks and balances. There's no accountability for media companies who say and publish things. For instance, if you share something about election fraud and that says, that you share something that says there's evidence of election fraud, well, they can put a little this thing's been fact checked, it's incorrect, because according to these other media companies, there has been no election fraud. There's been no evidence of election fraud. When it doesn't take much to see that there is evidence of election fraud. But there's no accountability for these people who are disseminating the false information. There's only accountability for you as the social media account holder for maybe sharing that or retweeting that information. Or if you express an opinion, I think there was voter fraud. I think there was massive voter fraud, then all of a sudden you get flagged because that you're disseminating false information, when it's really, even your opinions are censored. So, I don't know.
You're right about the opinion question, because I remember one time in a presidential debate, Donald Trump said he had done more for blacks than any president since Abraham Lincoln, right? Mm-hmm. And they fact-checked that and determined it was false. And you know what their rationale was? Some historians disagree. It's like, okay, so if he had said Gone with the Wind is the greatest movie ever, or Star Wars is the greatest movie ever, it doesn't matter what movie he says, you'll find someone who disagrees. So no matter what he says, it's false,
so
if you want it to be.
Behind the curtain? Yeah. Who's the fact checker behind the curtain that's deciding what's correct and what isn't correct, even when you're dealing in terms of opinions? So, but there's no liability. It's like they are just slowly, they're trying to mold our minds to a certain, you have to think a certain way, and if you don't think a certain way, well, you're gonna get your hand slapped. You're gonna get a digital hand slap because you think the wrong way. And this is America. You would have, even 2 years ago, you would have told me that we were going to be where we are today. I would have said, man, there's no way. There's no way. But too many of our even Republican lawmakers are laying down. They're not doing anything. I mean, there's very few that are really standing up with their fists balled and saying, we got to find the truth. Every single politician, Republican or Democrat, should have their fists balled right now saying, no, we got to find the truth, right? The only preservation of a democracy is a fair election. That's it. That's it. Our republic is the only way to be preserved with a fair election.
And good information is required to have fair elections, because the theory is that you go into a voting place understanding what the issues are, having discussed them, and there's been and that's the whole point. The founders believed the press was important, and they are. They're just not doing their job any longer. They're actually subverting our democracy, our republican form of government.
Well, I don't even know who's considered the press anymore, because all they are they're not journalists. They're not out for truth. They're out to disseminate their narratives. I mean, they're writing opinion pieces. They're not writing articles. So, just neutral articles. Everything's opinion at this point. Everything. You look at even these reputable organizations, these reputable news companies are putting out, you see more opinion pieces than you do actual journalism. It's sad, but there is no accountability for the media, right? Because they hide behind that. We need a free press.
So-called
so-called reputable, which they're fast going down the tubes. So, but the only accountability lies with us, the people, right? So we get we get a digital hand slap for saying something wrong, or for sharing something that who knows, these fact checkers say is wrong, but there's no accountability anywhere else. Definitely no accountability for the government. There's no accountability for, look at Hunter Biden's laptop. Why is nothing being done? There was strong proof. There was proof positive of criminal activity on there from what I read. Yeah. Why is nothing being done? Why is the accountability, George, only with you and I and the people watching this show? Everybody else gets a pass.
Right.
But I think American people we're sick of it.
You make a very good point. The double standards are, like I always say, if it weren't for double standards, the left wouldn't have any at all. Right. They just, it's crazy, because I remember one time they fact-checked Donald Trump. I don't know if you remember during the shutdown a couple of years ago when he had the Clemson football team. They'd won the national championship. But it was during a shutdown. So he ordered out a bunch of fast food because the White House mess wasn't operating. They couldn't, and so because it wasn't essential. So he brought in a boatload of hamburgers and fries and other things, and he made the comment to the media, says, "Yeah, we had enough hamburgers to stack halfway here to the moon." They fact checked that. Someone fact checked it and determined that if you stacked up all the hamburgers they had, and they admitted it was a large number, that it would not go halfway to the moon. And I'm just like, okay. So I guess that means that when my mother said, "George, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times," that I just should have called her a liar. Yeah. Because it had only been 876 times. It had not been 1,000 times. Right. And so, it's like, I think it's called a figure of speech. Anyhow, it's just kind of interesting, but that's the level to which fact checking has gone. It's the media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's just the mainstream kind of old fashioned media, they're largely a joke. They're not serious any longer. I don't have any respect for them. That's why I like to refer to them as lying sacks of rotting fecal matter. It's kind of a phrase I use all the time, because it used to be that you could just disagree and it's fine. Yeah, I disagree. But now it's like, no, you're not allowed to disagree with them. Yeah. And there's something profoundly dishonest about that.
Yep, I agree.
You don't have to agree with me but we do have to agree with them. They have the only legitimate opinions. Any other opinion makes you illegitimate, makes you a deplorable.
If we need to start voting in elected officials who are actually going to do something about it, and that's the problem, is you can say, well, we got to get a Republican in here. You guys, that's not enough anymore. There's too many Republicans that are compromised. There's too many Republicans right now. They're like, at Kilroy, like looking over the fence, just waiting to see what's next. Okay, just going to pop up at an opportunistic time. Yeah. We need people out there who are going to have the gloves on, are going to fight for the values that we have. Because I'll tell you what, through this whole thing, I've been disappointed in some of our Republican elected officials. I've been very disappointed.
Oh yeah, it's almost like they've been beaten so many times that they flinch.
Yeah,
and they're afraid or something. It's kind of, but they don't seem to. And we got to get some people in there who don't flinch, that are not afraid. And that's one of the reasons why I liked President Trump. Didn't always agree with every tweet, but I understood one thing loud and clear. This guy was not going to be bullied. He was not afraid, and he was prepared to take on the kooks. Just say enough's enough. Not going to put up with this, and we need more of that. Not less of it.
Well, I tell you what, if there was anybody who brought out the snakes from the swamp, it was Donald Trump. I think everybody knew that there was sort of this shadow government or this deep state, but I tell you what, they kind of exposed themselves through these last 4 years. So, but you're right, Donald Trump, he came in with the boxing gloves on, and I don't think he's taken them off yet.
Yeah. I would argue he probably brought in a stick too that he could use if he had to. He's a street fighter. I'm not, he's not always going to fight using the Queensberry rules, but more of a cage fighter. But at any rate, time is up again. It just drives me nuts. It goes too fast. It really does. But I do want to remind our viewers and our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. She is Melissa Isaac. And the Conservative Commandos will be right back. We've got some great guests coming up, so don't go away. If you missed anything or you want to catch a rebroadcast or get more information, ccrshow.com is the place to go.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, carried on the AUN TV network, the America Uncensored News Network, and of course carried on the Conservative Commandos radio network all across this great nation. And if you're not near one of the many broadcast towers, never fear, Al Gore's amazing internet comes to the rescue. We truly are everywhere. Maybe not in China or North Korea, but, everywhere else. And if you want to check out our website to get a rebroadcast, or if you missed anything, ccrshow.com is the place to check out. I'm George Landreth, and I'm glad you're here because this is the place to be. It's also the places the newsmakers go to be heard, and we have a great newsmaker here, Bob Barr. He is always a treat because he is somebody throughout his career. He used to represent, for example, Georgia's 7th Congressional District in the House of Representatives. But every time he took the floor of the House, every time he cast a vote, he was standing up for freedom and the Constitution. And you can see now that he's retired, his life continues that same theme. He practices law in the Atlanta area. He is chairman of Liberty Guard, which is a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. I know you're not surprised by that at all, nor am I. We would have expected nothing less. He's also the head of law enforcement of the Law Enforcement Education Foundation and a consulting firm, Liberty Strategies. So with that, Congressman Barr, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Thanks, George. Great to be with you once again. And as always, when we get together, there is more than enough to fill the time that we have allotted for each other.
You're right about that. That's for sure. So, Georgia right now is the hottest ticket in town. I mean, whatever happens in the presidential election and the recounts and is going to happen. But the Senate race, either way, is very, very important because it will determine if, for example, if Joe Biden were to be the next president, then it would provide at least some check on the lunacy that might go on if that didn't happen. And on top of that, of course, if Trump is reelected, then it means that he can continue to appoint, for example, good judges, and the Senate would be able to continue to confirm them. So Georgia is the ballgame.
It certainly is. It's very unusual, of course, as you know, and your viewers and listeners know. It's very unusual to have two Senate seats up at the same time in a state. But because of the confluence of a number of events, we had a senator retire, Johnny Isaacson, late last year and early this year. His replacement, Kelly Loeffler, was appointed by Governor Kemp. But then she has to run in the next regularly scheduled election, which is this November, in an open, basically an open primary type race where you have all candidates with representing whatever party run together, and the top two candidates, if one does not get a bare majority, then are in a runoff in January. Kelly Loeffler is in the runoff for that seat with an ultra liberal. I mean, even calling Ralph Warnock a liberal does disservice to the term. He's an out and out socialist. That will be decided on January 5th. And then, because we had our regular senator, David Perdue, up this year also. And he barely missed getting a majority in his race. So that race now goes to a runoff on January 5th, and he will be facing a very, very liberal Democrat, John Ossoff. So both of those races are on the ballot in January 5th. If we were to lose both of those, it would be an absolute disaster, George, not just for Georgia, but for the entire country and for freedom everywhere in this great land of ours, because it would mean that Kamala Harris, as vice president, would be the 101st senator and would control, therefore, all of the committees and the agenda. And there would be, as you indicated, no check whatsoever on the most liberal extremes of a Biden administration. So this is the whole ball game here in Georgia come January 5th.
It's hard for me to believe that the two Democratic candidates that have been selected by the party are a representation of the average Georgian. While we should take nothing for granted, we also shouldn't get down on the mouth and think we couldn't win.
You put your finger on something very important, and that is while the demographics of Georgia voting patterns have changed significantly over the last decade and a half, basically, Georgia is still not a liberal state. You have certainly very large pockets of very liberal voters in major cities. If, in fact, the Democrats were able to do very well with turning out voters in the major cities across Georgia. And if Republicans were not good or did not do a good job of turning out our vote in a lot of the suburban and rural areas in the state, then we could lose those 2 seats. And we've done very well over the years with our runoffs here in Georgia, that is, Republicans have. And I expect that we will win both of these seats, keep both of these seats in Republican hands. But there are several problems that we've seen here in Georgia recently, and that is most notably massive mail-in balloting, which provides far more opportunity for fraudulent voting than in-person voting, where you at least have some check on whether or not the vote is a legitimate voter because you have voter ID. So with massive mail-in balloting continuing, thanks to our Republican in name only Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, that's another problem that we have to deal with. So you're absolutely correct. We can't take it for granted, particularly with the way mail-in balloting has been abused. Whether or not the Georgia legislature will step in, as I believe they could, and get that mail-in balloting back to where it ought to be, and that is not a massive, hey, if you want a mail-in ballot, just go ahead, have at it, which is the position of our Secretary of State, then we do have a problem. We've got to be very, very careful. But the one thing we don't want to do is to do anything to depress Republican voters. And that's problematic because there have been some folks saying, well, gee, since the voting system is not secure with all of these mail-in ballots, don't go vote. I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever. That's the proverbial, cutting off your nose to spite your face.
That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't bother to show up and vote, then the other side doesn't even have to cheat to win. They'll just win.
Yeah, that guarantees the other side wins, and that means America loses.
As I understand it, the Secretary of State entered into a consent decree with Stacey Abrams at some point, which altered how the elections were handled. But my recollection, at least when I was in law school and later when I was teaching law school, I don't see that a Secretary of State has the authority to determine how electoral votes and how the voting process for a federal election would be handled. That is the providence of the legislature, not even the state, the legislature.
This was the result of a lawsuit back in November of 2019 that the Democrats, including Stacey Abrams, brought against the Secretary of State in his official capacity, claiming that the way mail-in votes are verified suppressed, but was racially discriminatory and suppressed the minority vote. Nonsensical allegations, but they filed that in November of last year, naming the Secretary of State as the primary plaintiff. What happened over the next 4 months were apparently negotiations behind the scenes between the Democrats and Brad Raffensperger, our Secretary of State, resulting in March 2020, this settlement agreement that became a consent decree that did, in fact, change the way mail-in voting takes place and those votes are verified. Not only did Brad Raffensperger do that improperly, in my view, and as you've indicated, not with the consent of the legislature in Georgia, but our Attorney General, who represented in his capacity as Attorney General, represented the Secretary of State, signed off on it as well. So you had a very bad result in that lawsuit, and yet it wasn't challenged for some reason. Of course, the Secretary of State and the Attorney General signed off on it, and now the Secretary of State is doubling down, sending out letters to voters. Somebody in my office just got one a few days ago, sending out letters to voters saying, I kid you not. The system of mail-in balloting worked so well in the past. This was such a magnificent process. We want to encourage you, the voters, to do it again. All you have to do is ask for mail-in ballot. No questions asked. You'll get it. You'll send it in. What could be easier? So not only did the Secretary of State engage in an improper settlement agreement back in March, did nothing about it over the next 6 months, 7, 8 months, and now is encouraging it to be used again. I mean, you just have to shake your head with the poor judgment here, George.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing to me that how this is all lined up this year. It's been a pretty crazy year, and it's not just the COVID virus, and it's just a lot of things have aligned to be strange. But we are up against a break. I just want to remind our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He is Congressman Bob Barr, and we will be right back after these messages.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. But when I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show. Thanks to AM and TV Network, Conservative Commandos Radio Network, of course, the internet as well. Thanks to Al Gore, I'm sure. But we truly are everywhere. I'm George Landreth. I'm glad you stuck around. We've been talking with Congressman Bob Barr. And Congressman, you did a really good job of highlighting what's going on in Georgia right now and how the process has become very odd from both just a a sense of being confident in the election results, but also just constitutionally. But what do you see going forward? We've got basically a little over a month, and there'll be an election. What are some of the big factors that you see playing into this? And then we're going to get to that education article, because that was a good one.
Thank you. Yes, to remind everybody, we have in Georgia on January 5th, almost exactly a month from now, we have two Senate races that are in runoffs. Kelly Loeffler is fighting against Raphael Warnock, a very, very liberal socialist candidate. And David Perdue is running against John Ossoff, a very liberal Democrat. And we have this whole mess with mail-in balloting and so forth that we talked about a few minutes ago. President Trump, who clearly understands the importance of Republicans hanging on to at least one, but preferably both of these Senate seats, he understands how important it is, and he's coming to Georgia this weekend to push support for both Senator Perdue and Senator Loeffler. And I'm hoping that one of the message, or the clearest message that the president brings, is twofold. One, the importance of maintaining a majority in the Senate. That is absolutely essential for everything from Second Amendment rights to taxation to foreign wars. I mean, everything. And secondly, the second important message that I hope the president brings to the people of Georgia is vote. Vote on January 5th for both David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. There are some Republicans who are saying don't vote because the system is corrupt. That's nonsense. That simply would guarantee that the Democrats would win. So I'm hoping that the president delivers those two. I was
going to say, Chuck Schumer is probably hoping they believe that. Chuck Schumer is probably hoping that the average Republican in Georgia says, this is so corrupt, I'm just not going to vote. And then he's smiling all the way to taking America down the drain.
Yep.
But that's a very good summary of what's at stake and why it matters. Another thing that I think is important, the science is very clear that our schools should be open. This isn't just evidence in America, it's evidence in Europe, it's evidence all over the world that kids are not super spreaders, schools are not super spreaders. The reality is they are very unlikely. They're actually less likely to get COVID at school than they are to get the flu at school. And the flu is more harmful to them than COVID is. Now, that may not be true every demographic. I understand if you or I were to get COVID, it'd probably be might be more serious for us than the flu. But if you're a school-age kid, that's factually not accurate at all. So let's talk a little about what needs to happen here, because all over the country you have governors trying to shut everything down, from churches to schools to businesses, and it's not making a lot of sense to me.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to you because it is nonsensical. Not only do these policies being instituted by governors and mayors across the country, particularly, if not almost exclusively, Democrats, not only do they have no basis in science, and that is, as you've described, school-age children are far less likely to become infected with COVID, and even if they are far more likely to have very minimal symptoms if they are infected with COVID. And schools are not locations where COVID makes a home or spreads. I mean, that's the science. But it also comports with common sense. When you look at how this virus, as well as other viruses, affects people, it is almost always the elderly and the infirm who are more seriously affected by it. And yet you have governors like Cuomo and his colleague in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania, and of course out on the left coast. These governors just arbitrarily dictating, well, this should close, this sport should cease, these institutions should close down. Just arbitrary dictatorial power. And that so many people go along with it is a very disturbing problem for our society generally. But they make these decisions with regard to schools, and the science that they don't pay attention to is the fact that this hurts children. They don't learn properly. They don't socialize properly. You don't have that personal interaction between student and teacher and between student and student, which is a vital part of the education process. That's the science. And yet these governors like Cuomo and mayors like Bill de Blasio think that, well, it's perfectly okay to have a student sit in front of a computer and learn. And that's bad for the student. It's also bad for a lot of their parents, particularly working class parents whose children are in public schools. They have to have the children at home during the day now, sitting in front of a computer, and the parents are penalized if the authorities find out or think that the students are not watching the computer. There have been cases where child services have come knocking on parents' doors because the school thinks that the students weren't watching their laptop computer or whatnot. So the parents, it's a burden on them. A lot of them are working. They might lose their jobs. So it's bad all around. And yet now some of these mayors and like de Blasio, the evidence is becoming so overwhelming that they're wrong. And parents have been making such a fuss about this that some of these officials now are starting to have to back down a little bit. But it's funny because they then expect to be adulated for doing the right thing, which they should have done months ago. So that it struck me as sort of odd that these public officials like de Blasio and Cuomo, who gets an Emmy for his mismanagement of COVID in New York, expect to be applauded and adored because, now we're going to open up schools again a little bit. They ought to be held to account. These teachers and a lot of these administrators shouldn't be patted on the back. They should be fired, if you ask me.
That actually makes a lot of sense. If you consistently lose cases that everyone agrees you should have won, people stop hiring you. That's how, so I'm trying to figure out, and if you're a plumber and every house you go to leaks more when you leave the house than when you got there, you don't get jobs anymore. It's just, I don't understand why it is that with government jobs, we accept failure and we accept bad results and we just kind of say, well, but they're trying. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out, in my life, would trying be good enough, or would people actually say, no, I'm sorry, you're going to have to produce a good result?
I'm not a golfer, and I don't really enjoy watching golf. To me, it's kind of boring to watch, but it's one of those sports, one of those endeavors that is almost purely based on merit. If you don't golf well during the PGA Tour or at the Masters, you don't win. You don't get a bunch of money. If you do well, you do.
And you can't blame the ref.
Based. And yet, in something far more important than golf, which is educating our children or protecting our communities with the police, but particularly with schooling, we're allowing teachers, these particularly union teachers, to fail and fail and fail, and now in COVID fail miserably to do their job, and yet they continue to get paid, they continue to get raises, they continue to be a burden on taxpayers, and because of the union contracts in many of these cases with the local government, they can't be fired. It's a real problem with the National Education Association and its powerful hold on teachers through their union.
Absolutely. It make a lot of sense. Great article. Just to our viewers and listeners, you can go to Town Hall and see it there. It's entitled Education Officials Should Be Held Accountable, Not Adored, by Bob Barr. Bob, we love having you on the show, and if we could do it every single day, that would be awesome, but I know that you're too busy to do it every day. So when you're not on the show, how can people follow the great work that you're doing to promote freedom and liberty?
You're very kind. Thank you for that. The easiest way is just to go to Liberty Guard or go to www.bobbarr.org. And we have links there through Liberty Guard or Liberty Strategies or my law enforcement work. to the various articles that I write, the one you mentioned for townhall.com. I do another one each week for the Daily Caller. Just go to bobbarr.org or libertyguard.org and get in touch with us. But it always is a real pleasure to be with you all.
We're so glad that you are a friend of the show, and we appreciate your contributions to the conservative constitutional scholarship of the average citizen by making these appearances and the articles you write. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, as always.
Well, to our listeners and viewers, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth, and we will be right back after these messages. But if you've missed any part of the show or you need to get a rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, carried on the AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and of course on Al Gore's amazing internet. We truly are everywhere. I'm George Landreth, and I am pleased that you're with us because this is the place to be. If you want to rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com. I'm very pleased to introduce Dan Gainor. He is our next guest. He's a friend of the show. He's the vice president of business and culture for the Media Research Center. And he is a veteran editor. He's been published in virtually every publication you can imagine. He's also appears on lots of media programs because he's a real expert and he knows what he's talking about. So when people want to know what's going on with the media, who do they go to? Dan Gainor. He's the man. So, and I'm also, quite frankly, glad to call Dan a personal friend. And I would tell you that if you love freedom, then Dan is your friend too, because he's a man who's committed to individual liberty and freedom and the Constitution. So with that, Dan, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Well, that's a heck of a lead in there to live up to. I generally try to live down to the introduction. That's hard to live up to.
Well, I know you'll be able to. That's not a problem. I'm not worried about it. But there's lots going on.
As it's going right now, I understand President Trump has many legal avenues he's still pursuing, but I think it doesn't look good. I'm just being honest, because he's not winning lower court. And so it's important to look at why that is. And so what we did at the Media Research Center, we worked with McLaughlin and Associates, reputable firm, to poll Biden voters, because like I said, if it goes the way the media are saying it is right now, then Biden will take over in January. So it's important to know what they know and why they voted the way they did. So 1 out of 6. 17% of the Biden voters said if they had known more facts about Biden or Trump, they would have changed their vote. That's
17%?
An astonishing number. Now, we focused on some battleground states. So it would have basically, the result would have been, I think it's 311 electoral votes in 3 of the cases and just 295 in the other cases. So basically Trump wins either way. Yes, theoretically, he could still win right now in court. In neither case, it wouldn't be fought in court right now. He would have won, and that would have been it. So here's the 3 stories we focused on that were negative about Biden are the ones that generated the most result, and that is, obviously, first of all, the Hunter Biden story. The media, that's the one where the media blatantly censored the story, where Twitter came out and said, oh, well, we don't like this story. We're going to block the New York Post for 17 days leading up to the presidential election. So, and they didn't just block the New York Post, they blocked people who would share it, including one of my coworkers, Curtis Houck, who's a managing editor for Newsbusters. He shared the story, got suspended for 12 hours. The idea that you're being suspended for sharing news put out by a reputable news organization is just Soviet. I mean, that's just what it is. So there's that story. There's the Tara Reade sex assault allegations. Tara Reade used to work for Biden back in the 1990s. Her mom famously called in to what was the radio program or TV program? Larry King called into Larry King and was talking about her daughter's incident with a U.S. Member of Congress, and later discovered that was the voice of her mom, and her mom had called in. So there's evidence from that time period, not just the allegation Tara Reade's making now because, Biden's running for president. Biden's running for president a whole bunch of times, but the allegation has got historical weight. So there's that. And then this one's near and dear to my heart just because we do a lot of analysis of who's left wing and all that. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was the most liberal senator in the U.S. Senate, more liberal than Bernie Sanders. That's not just my opinion. That's an independent analysis by GovTrack. GovTrack said, oh, most liberal senator. Nobody knew it. So in all three of those cases, the result would have meant 311 electoral votes. Trump, dancing around the White House with Melania, laughing as he goes to his second term. Then there's the positive news stories about Trump that the media hid. And that is, first of all, something we're all living through right now, the huge jump in economic growth that happened right in the middle. We had the drop in the second quarter because of the virus. And a lot of economists were saying, we're going to have, what do they call it, W or an L or whatever for economic growth, which is this, flat line or whatever. And Trump and his economic team said, we are going to have an economic V where, everything drops down from the virus, boom, and shoots right back the hell up again. And that's exactly what's occurred. 33.1% growth in the third quarter. Not just the largest growth we've ever seen in a quarter, but more than twice almost what the largest growth was in a quarter prior to that. Now, if that had been Barack Obama, the media were like, oh my God, what a powerhouse. Oh, this is wonderful. Okay, so there's that. Then, I'm watching as Biden is naming all these prospective nominees for foreign policy, and they're all the same hacks that got us into trouble before, got us into trouble in the Middle East, particularly kowtowed to our enemy in Iran that murdered 600 American servicemen. And then I look at Trump, and Trump has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize multiple times because he's helped bring Israel together in, I think it's 3 separate peace agreements. And it gets no attention. Then there's energy independence. This is something we talked about. The United States we've been an energy powerhouse, and yet the reason why we're relying on the Mideast and why we've gotten caught up in Mideast wars and there's problems, we've been relying on Mideast oil. Not under Trump. U.S. achieved the point where more than half, Biden voters said they didn't know that we've achieved energy independence. We're drilling offshore. We're drilling in the Arctic. We've got energy coming in. So the secret, we're not going to tell you. And, then beyond that, there's also we created 11.1 million jobs, more economic growth, and then we're all running around wearing these stupid masks, trying not to get the virus. But the number one reason we all know we're going to move on as a society is we're supposed to get vaccines. Trump committed this massive resource of government to stand behind the private sector. He pushed the private sector with Operation Warp Speed. He told America we'd have vaccines this year. Everybody in the media, you're not going to have a vaccine. No, that's ridiculous. He's just talking out his ear. He said, modifying slightly for media. And we're going to have vaccines this year.
Yeah.
And so when you add all that together, that's not everything. That's just 8 examples of bias by omission. Everybody, any ordinary person who follows the news can turn on TV or look at CNN. God, you can look at CNN any day and say, oh my God, that's biased. Look at what they said about Trump. Look at what they did there. And it's trash. And yeah, you're right. But what is harder and takes a little bit more analysis and assessment is the bias by omission. So it's commission versus omission. The omission is where it's worse. The media hide stories they don't like, narratives they don't like, and hype narratives they do. So this is why when, God governors and mayors and all these other hypocrites on the left go out and tell you, you must stay in your home. And then they go out to dinner at some fancy restaurant, Governor Newsom or Mayor Lightfoot or Bowser or any of these others. That doesn't make much news. And why is it? Because of bias by omission.
Right. The funny thing is, if Donald Trump ever has an event where someone's spotted without a mask, that's all we'll talk about for the next 3 days. And they'll call them super spreader events. But if they're celebrating Joe Biden apparent victory or claimed victory to the presidency, that's not a problem. That's not a super spreader event. It only happens if Donald Trump's involved.
Well, and remember, for the Black Lives Matter protests or the Antifa riots or whatever we've had this year, they didn't just fail to address it. They flat out came out and said, oh, well, those are safe. The so-called medical authorities, my arm's working a little bit, I can actually do the phony air quotes now. The so-called medical authorities came out and said, oh, everybody should stay in their home, but this is legitimate reason to protest, so that's okay, they're not going to get the virus. Since when it makes you wonder, what did the Chinese dream up in their lab? Is this virus intelligent? Does it, is it woke? Does it only target conservatives? Oh, well, you're having a woke protest for Black Lives Matter. We're not going to infect anybody.
Yeah. I thought it was all the fires that were burning nearby that might have kept the virus away.
Tons of unmasked people at left-wing protests. Tons of unmasked people at Biden rallies and stuff. Well, not Biden rallies, but after the election, he had nobody attending his rallies because. So it's just so insidious, the control that the major media have over our entire narrative as a society. And then what's worse is they're going to take that control and jam it down our throats into the history books. This is how you get the most corrupt news outlet in America right now, and I would argue is the New York Times, simply because they're not just making, modifying the news and twisting the news, they're actually twisting history. They've decided we're gonna unravel 400 years of American history and remake the founding so that America is all about what? Oh, it's all about racism. It's all about slavery. It's all, everything about America is racism. Because then that fits their narrative going through. Well, anything you say that they disagree with, now you're racist.
Well, we are up against the break, so we will just remind our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He is Dan Gainor, and we will be right back after these messages. But I do want to remind you, if you've missed any portion of our program or you need to get a rebroadcast, ccrshow.com is the place to go. We'll be right back.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000.
You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club
for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry.
They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more.
Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, the television show. Of course, you've got the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, the AUN TV Network, America Uncensored News. You've got even our own Roku channel, and you've got Al Gore's amazing internet, TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, and our own website, ccrshow.com. It's all there. I'm George Landreth. I'm glad you stuck around. We've been talking with Dan Gainor. He, of course, is the Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. They do great work, and Dan is always insightful. Dan, I thought your synopsis of a lot of the stuff going on with the presidential election was really on point and very illuminating. I really appreciate sharing the research that you all did. I thought maybe we could shift gears here a little bit. And let's look at Hollywood, because sometimes Hollywood is a funny reflection, as it were, of what's going on in society, and sometimes they can be very entertaining.
Well, and I mean, this is so. I want to talk about actress Ellen Page, except I can't talk about actress Ellen Page anymore because Ellen Page doesn't exist. Ellen Page came out day before yesterday, I guess it is, and decided Ellen Page is transgender and is now Elliot Page. Now, okay, most of the news media will then follow forth and report that like it's simply a fact. You know, there's no discussion of it. And I found one actual headline that I would say at least acknowledges what happened. It's from Yahoo Entertainment. It says actor Elliot Page. Notice we've already just moved on. Formerly Ellen Page, so at least it acknowledges what's going on, announces he is transgender. Okay, now all the rest of them, though, and as far as we know, by the way, according to news reports, I've seen no indication that Ellen or Elliot have had surgery. That there's nothing has changed except Ellen woke up and said, "Call me Elliot," and now, by the way, change all of my history. All of my history is I'm a guy. So you go to the Wikipedia page and you will find that the awards that Ellen Page won for an astonishing performance in the movie Hard Candy, which is also hard to watch. It's about a young girl turning the tables on a pedophile. It is, still, you can see she's a future star. She was in some of the DC X-Men movies. She was in Juno, fabulous role in Juno. She gets pregnant in Juno. Now we're supposed to believe she's a dude who got pregnant in Juno. So here's some of the...
Is that science-based?
What was that?
Is that science-based? Because I was always taught that...
Science-based when their side does it.
Okay. Because I was always taught that females can carry children to term, and males play a role in that process, but they can't actually do it. So I'm wrong on that then.
So here's Elliot. Here's a headline that from Variety that tells you absolutely nothing, but it pretends because they're so politically correct. They're afraid to tell you anything else. Elliot Page will continue to star in Umbrella Academy. Netflix changes credits on his past films. Well, why would he change credits? It doesn't tell you that. You're just supposed to assume that you know that Ellen Page is now Elliot Page. So Here's New York Times, one of the nation's leading newspapers. Elliot Page, Oscar-nominated Juno star, announces he is transgender. So if you didn't see Juno, and you look in this somewhat amorphous photo of Ellen Page wearing a baseball cap, I think that's pretty much the one thing that's transpired. Ellen Page now wears a baseball cap, so obviously it must be a guy. You've got, you've no idea. So did Elliot Page become a woman? I mean, there's no gauge on that. And then, Elliot Page, Juno star, shares transgender identity, which tells you also nothing. That's from CNN. BBC, again, just embracing that this happened. Elliot Page, Juno star, announces he is transgender. So if he's announcing he's transgender, is it now a woman or a man? I mean, they won't tell you because they're so politically correct. And there's one, where was it? I saw one that I'm trying to find now. Wait. Here we are. From NBC News, brave, in quotes, beautiful, in quotes, celebs support Juno star Elliot Page after he announces he's trans. That's not news. That's a propaganda PR thing. Oh, everybody holler, because they're afraid to say what we all want to say. Wait a second. Did you have surgery? No. I just woke up today and decided that this is who I am. But here's where it gets to be a problem. All right. Suppose a young Arnold Schwarzenegger were to announce suddenly he's a woman. He's now competing against women in every competition in the world. An NFL player decides he's a woman. Suddenly groundbreaking. Women are in the NFL. Okay? A track star. The star, a mediocre track star for men announces he's a woman. He's now competing with your daughters in track and field, except because he's spent his entire life as a guy, he has denser muscles, he's bigger, stronger, and faster. So suddenly your daughter is no longer competing in fair competition. She's competing against a guy who says he's a girl. I'm not trying.
That's progress, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be mean here.
Yeah.
But the reality is different than what they're telling us. They are lying to us. Ellen Page isn't a guy. We're just supposed to accept that Ellen Page is not Elliot Page because she feels like it. And we're not allowed to object. To object is bigotry. No, it's science. If you were born a woman and you saw female body parts, you're not even representing as a guy. What's to stop your 14-year-old daughter's in a high school gym class, and she's a freshman, and a 18-year-old senior male decides, hey, I'm a girl. I'm going to come not only attend the freshman girls' gym class, the gym class in the locker room, but I'm going to change with, shower with, and compete with young girls. That's insanity. And it's not only insane as a society, but it's insane that the news media are so politically correct that they just embrace it without question.
Right. But if I tell them I'm Tom Brady, they're not going to give me a starting job in the NFL. They're just going to laugh at me.
If I tell them I'm 7'2", because what we're talking about here isn't just a change in mentality or a change in your heart or your soul or your spirit, however you want to address it. We're talking about there are physical, biological things about being a man and a woman. Just flat out, there are. But we're told, no, there aren't. And so the result for that is chaos for kids and chaos for our society because we can't differentiate. So there's nothing to stop women going to a bathroom and having men follow them. They can't even turn around and say, you don't belong here. How dare you say I don't belong here? You run a gymnasium. Whenever we're done with COVID, people want to go back to the gym. There's nothing you have no right to even challenge anybody anymore.
Yeah. You can shower with whomever you like to shower with. And if they object, it's because they're a bigot.
Right. I mean, that's exactly it. You're a father. You got young kids. You take to the gym because you want them to start working out and all that. and they go to the gym, they go in the ladies' the ladies' gym, you go to the men's gym, you have no idea who's in the ladies' gym at all. None. And so literally they could be exposed to male anatomy at a young age. You can't even object. You can't even ask about it.
Right.
And so this is how the media change every narrative in our society. So rather than admit whenever Ellen Page has transgender surgery and legally changes the name, then we'll change things. That came up with the Bradley Manning case. Chelsea Manning eventually had surgery, which I think we paid for, but eventually also legally changed names. Okay, well, that at least you had surgery, you change your name. You can make a compelling case that you are representing as someone of another gender. Whether you should still be able to compete athletically is another matter. But at least, that's a different situation. It's just madness. It is politically correct madness, and we're not allowed to call it out. And then our media outlets, and I mentioned CNN because I don't want to forget this. Our media outlets are so craven that they're all left wing. So CNN got, I won't say hacked, they got a visit from Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. And they got a virtual visit. Someone on the inside gave him the call-in number for their daily editorial briefings. And predictably, they're left wing. Shocking that one of the CNN employees comes out and says it's upsetting that Hispanics, Cubans in Florida are going to vote for Trump. Oh, well, that's because they like strongmen. They like dictators. Huh?
Yeah, I don't think they like dictators. That's why they came here.
Yeah.
If they like dictators, they would have stayed in Cuba.
I mean, it's astonishing. This is supposedly a news outlet. It's not a news outlet. It is a propaganda channel for Team Biden. It's his press office.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's crazy stuff. The media really has gotten far afield from days when they presented real information to American public. And I want people to understand how they can follow what you do.
Sure. Well, I mean, I spend a lot of my time on social media. You can find me on Twitter or Parler, the same, at Dan Gainor, DANGAINOR. You can also, I write a regular piece for FoxNews.com. You can find me on Fox News Opinion. Then you should also go to newsbusters.org. That's our very popular blog. And it's December. We just finished past Giving Tuesday. It's the time in the year when people donate. We're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. If you're interested in supporting us, or maybe even just signing up for our newsletters, if money's tight this year, I completely understand. You can find us at mrc.org.
Thanks so much, Dan. It's always great to have you on the program. But to our listeners and our viewers, this is the Conservative Commandos. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available, and you may qualify for dental coverage and lower copays and deductibles. Make the free call now. Top quality coverage at the lowest prices anywhere. You may be paying too much and not even know it. In these troubled times, healthcare is more important than ever. Don't let another day go by without health insurance. Policies are being offered with very low copays and deductibles. So if you're uninsured, underinsured, or paying too much, call Healthcare Help Desk. Learn about your options before it's too late.
Call 800-964-1055. 800-964-1055.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to. These new Medicare Advantage plans may have many free new benefits including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available and it's a free call to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Benefits Line, a free non-government service. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare Benefits line now. It's easy. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings.
Call 800-691-1655. 800-691-1655.
Medicare Benefits line is not connected with or endorsed by any government agency or the federal Medicare program.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-447-7570. 800-447-7570.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show. Thanks to both the Conservative Commandos radio network and the AUN TV network, the America Uncensored News Network. We're glad to have them added to the Conservative Commandos family. But if you're not near one of the many broadcast towers, never fear, Al Gore's amazing internet comes to the rescue. And you can hear us just about anywhere. Maybe not in China or North Korea, but about everywhere else where freedom is not a dirty word. We are available. And As the original Conservative Commander Rick Trader likes to say, we truly are everywhere. I'm George Landreth. I'm one of the Conservative Commandos hosts. I'm with you today, and I'm glad you're here. We have a great guest, as we always do at Conservative Commandos. We have James Kenna. He is an author, he's an educator, and he's a champion of freedom. Interestingly enough, his motto is neither coerce nor be coerced, which I think reminds me a lot of the way Jefferson talked about freedom, and that he wanted freedom for himself and he was unwilling to take it from others, which I think works out well that way. Dictators like freedom for themselves, just not anyone else. So I think he has good instincts, and we're glad to have him on. He is the author of a very interesting book that I think we really need to discuss. It's a kind of a dystopian novel. It's called 2084, American Apocalypse. So with that, Jim, welcome to the Conservative Commandos. We're glad to have you with us.
Thank you, George. I'm thrilled to be here and really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. So I thought it might be good for us to start off just talking about this book. Out in, if you will, Hollywood or so forth, there's all kinds of dystopian stories. Some of them have been quite popular. Hunger Games was a big one. And it did seem to kind of show, I think, accidentally perhaps, I don't know, because I don't think Hollywood's actually on the side of freedom much anymore. The days of John Wayne are gone, it seems, sadly. But having said that, it told a story of the abuse of power and how when you get power located in one place, it is often used to usurp freedom and opportunity. And it's a good reminder, because I think that's a truism that our founders, I teach constitutional law, and the idea of separating power and creating divisions so that it's difficult for any one faction or party to become dominant was an important part of their plan. And yet we see in modern society, power is always aggregated, and it never ends well when that happens. So as someone who values freedom, let's just talk a little about what your book is and why folks should read it, because I think just earlier this week, we had a guest and we talked about teaching our children the value of freedom and teaching them to be patriotic. In some cases, it could be exposing them to literature that essentially supports the concept or the value of freedom. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. As you mentioned, the dystopian genre can be very powerful. And particularly for a novel like this, where I'm talking about big ideas and the big issues that confront our society, in a dystopian setting, you really put everybody to test and you put the whole society to test. And in doing that, you create an opportunity to really dive deeply into what are those things that are really driving this? What are the core issues? What are the core elements of our humanity that are really coming into play here? So that dystopian setting is very powerful in that regard. The genre of my novel is similar to Orwell's 1984 or Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. Powerful stories, powerful messages, and that's what I tried to do with my novel as well. It operates on 4 levels. The first is a very obvious one. It's a mystery thriller. There's lots of drama, there's lots of action, lots of twists and turns and surprises. And the characters are all very tested, following G.K. Chesterton's perspective on writing, which is, in every coward lurks a hero, and every hero lurks a coward. And at some point, everybody's tested in that regard and has to rise to the occasion of being a hero, or they fail and resort to cowardice. So at one level, it's that kind of mystery thriller. At another level, though, where the powerful message starts to come in, is it's a warning to America that if you look at the current trends of our society and how the pillars of our civilization are being kicked out from underneath it, where's that going to head? And that's why I picked the year 2084. And in that setting, America is in another civil war. And that's where the title American Apocalypse came from. But even beyond that, another level of the story is it's one thing to say things are going to heck and bad things are coming. People also want to see a vision. What really is the vision for the future, the vision for America? How do we work our way out of this mess? What does that look like? So the story presents some of that as well. But even at its deepest level, the fourth level would be, what is the meaning of life? What are we as human beings, and how can we connect all on the same level and get through these conflicts and ideological battles that we're always fighting, and start to create a society where we can interact peacefully, prosperously, and safely?
That makes sense. Occasionally I hear people say things, I don't really like politics. It's kind of, it's yucky or whatever. But I think about politics is actually the way, at least in the United States, where we have historically tried to preserve freedom and opportunity and extend the blessings of liberty to every single American. And so when we say it's dirty, it's like we're saying we don't care about that. I don't quite understand that. How could we not care about things as fundamental and as important to our humanity as having freedom of conscience, freedom just to do the things that you want to do, whether it's you want to be a plumber or a carpenter or a lawyer or a teacher. There are countries where even that freedom doesn't really exist. You just do what the government tells you. They say, this is what we need you to do, therefore this is what you will do. And I feel like a lot of times, because Americans feel that freedom has existed here for so long, they take it for granted, almost like clean air. But if someone's choking you to death, inhaling a deep breath of clean air would be very welcomed. But we haven't had someone choking us for a long time. But the question is that coming? Perhaps I could ask you, is that part of this dystopian novel here, that basically the people are being choked and then they start to long for something perhaps they took for granted?
Yeah, I think that's an important part of the story. And you made a great point in what you were discussing there, in that people don't really understand the power of politics. They think it is some extraneous thing that those other people do, or I don't want to be bothered by it, or it's, like you mentioned, some dirty thing. But politics is life. I mean, anytime you get two human beings or more together, you've created a political situation. And when you look at how Jefferson and Locke looked at that, sort of beginning from that state of nature, they recognize that nature is tough. The universe is always trying to kill us. I mean, you have to expend a lot of effort in order to establish your life, maintain your life, and prosper your life. It takes great work, great effort, great personal investment in that. So if you don't have, for instance, the right to your own property, you're going to fail at all of those. I mean, if you try to invest effort and labor and yet someone else takes that from you, if you build a civilization on that, it's going to collapse. So all of those things are political. The very act of living is political. You have to make some very basic decisions about, do we have private property, or is property communal? Am I a sovereign individual, or am I part of a greater collective that can control my behavior and tell me what to do? Those decisions affect everybody's lives. They're all fundamental to life itself. And so politics is life in that regard. And so my story explores that. And when you think about America, we've always been two Americas, and a lot of people don't really like this thought or accept this thought, but there's two reasons why we've been two Americas. One is the idea of freedom. You talk about freedom. I love freedom. I think the U.S. Constitution is the greatest political document in the history of the world. I'm very passionate about it. But there's a group in our society that thinks of freedom differently than we do. We think of freedom as the opportunity to do those things that will fulfill our life and to do them without interference from other people and without interference from governments. But there are other people who think freedom is freedom from life itself or freedom from reality, which is where, like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, when he talked about his 4 freedoms, freedom from want, freedom from fear. The only way you can achieve that kind of freedom, to be free of the harshness of reality, is to impose on other people and to have a very active government that will take control of everyone's life for the purpose of trying to make you safe and have no fear. But a lot of people think that's what freedom is, to be safe from fear and to be safe from want. And those are 2 very different visions. The Lockean and the Jeffersonian vision is very different than Roosevelt's vision, and that divide permeates our entire society. But the other divide that permeates our society is, what's the role of government? On one hand, people like yourself and myself who believe in freedom believe the role of government is to be a shield, to protect us from intrusions by others, to protect us from gangs, robbers, other nations that want to attack us. It's a shield of our basic rights and our basic ability to live. But others see the government as a weapon, that they want to weaponize that coercive power of the government in order to achieve that thing that Roosevelt talked about, which is, I want to use the government to remove my fears. I want to use the government to remove my want. So we have those 2 segments of our society that are in great conflict right now.
That is the truth. And it sounds like a great premise for a book. And I like the way, in fact, when we get back, we've got to take a quick break. But when we come back, I want to talk about how kind of today's events, maybe, just look at what's happening today that is, by 2084 will be history, and let's see how it leads up to the story, because I think it sounds like a very powerful way to discuss some of these very important issues that are even important right now, even though we may not be yet in a dystopian environment just yet. You can certainly see some of the core there being, but as I said, we're up against the break. I just want to remind our viewers and our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth, and we're talking with James Kenna. We will be right back after these messages, but I do want to remind you, if you want a rebroadcast of the show, you missed anything, more information, it's all at ccrshow.com.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The secret war is yours, free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, the television show. You can get us on both the AM and TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, our own Roku station, and, of course, Al Gore's amazing internet. We truly are everywhere, and we're glad you stuck around. We've been having a great conversation with James Kenna. He's the author of a new book that I think you'll find very interesting. It's 2084, American Apocalypse. And, it's a story that involves all the things that matter. It's a dystopian novel. It is, there's a shadowy international cabal involved. You've got a family having to make, gut-wrenching decisions and trying to figure out how to, who they can trust as they try to solve the problems they're facing. And it strikes me as a very interesting story. And we've been having a conversation about freedom with Jim. So Jim, thanks for sticking around. And I wanted to ask you, when you write a novel like this, obviously a novel is fiction. It's something you create the characters, you create the plot, you create the twists and the turns. But obviously you're basing them on something. They didn't just come out of nowhere. You're looking at what you've seen happening in America and perhaps the direction we're headed. I think you even suggested that the 2084 was picked for a reason. And so let's talk a little about historically why America, why the story about 2084 is potentially dystopian as opposed to why it's not about utopia and so forth. I think you're right that the direction we're headed is not really the right direction. But let's talk about that.
One of the interesting things about writing a novel about the future, the year 2084, is you also have to bridge the gap between 2020 and 2084. So you have to create sort of a future history. And that future history is based on not only what's happening today, but what happened even 100 years ago, because there's a very long trend line that gets you out to the year 2084. When you look at America, as I mentioned earlier, I think the U.S. Constitution is the greatest political document in the history of the world, followed closely by the U.S. Declaration of American Independence. So the concept of America, to me, is a brilliant, very powerful concept. And yet it's been gradually eroding away. And I think ever since the Civil War, we've seen deterioration in that vision. And then when you start to get into the 20th century, when you see the Federal Reserve Act, the 16th Amendment to allow the federal government to tax irregardless of population in a state, Supreme Court decisions that fundamentally change the power of the government, like Wickard, and also the New Deal, the Great Society. Throughout that whole trend line, what you've seen is government power growing, government intrusion in individual lives expanding. And that trend line has never really been slowed. I mean, even when we have Republican administrations, maybe it slows a little bit, but it never takes a turn back towards the original premise of the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. So if you extrapolate that out into the future, you're going to continue to see that happen, that the government's going to become bigger and bigger and more intrusive. When you look at what happened, for instance, in this pandemic, look how powerful government became almost overnight, where they told us we had to stay in our homes. They put thousands of businesses out of business. They put millions of people out of work. They spent $3 trillion at the drop of a hat that doesn't even exist. I mean, they did that overnight.
They also made it a crime in many states to go to church.
Right.
And so, I never dreamed that would ever happen in America, because we have a First Amendment and there's no small text there, like footnote that says, oh, this doesn't matter in times of emergency.
Right. Well, not only,
but that's how they viewed it.
When you look at our basic freedoms, the freedom to assemble, for instance, was trampled. Even the freedom to speak. I mean, a lot of conservative voices were suppressed during this period, particularly leading up to the election. But then when you start to think about what's coming in the future, where the demands from the younger generations who have been propagandized by the state, essentially, where they want free college education, free housing, free food, free this, free that. I mean, the trend line of the past is going to become the future also, but only to a greater extent. And when you start to think about the Green New Deal and how climate change is going to be leveraged to become an imposition on individual sovereignty, it isn't hard to imagine that we're headed in a very bad place. There's nothing that's really going to slow it down, because the U.S. Constitution has pretty much been overrun by popular culture today. Our politicians don't really observe it, and a large part of our country culturally does not observe it either. So there's nothing to stop that train. And so when you look at the factionalism that exists today and some of the irreconcilable differences in how we view freedom and how we view the role of government, we see the violence in the streets now. We see our freedoms diminishing, and our ability to even push back on the government is diminishing. Even at the level of truth, it's hard to find what truth is nowadays because one faction has one truth, another faction has a different truth, and so it's impossible for us to even talk when that kind of a situation exists. So you extrapolate all of that, and we're headed to what's happened once before. We had a civil war in America in 1860 to 1865, and in my opinion, we're headed for another one.
Yeah, it's a little easier to see that. One of the things that I've commented on, and one of the things that worries me, is historically speaking, if you go back in time, the way political disputes were solved was the various factions would gather arms and weapons, and whichever side had the most powerful army was the side that won. And then society decided, well, why don't we come up with, things like a constitution, have representative government, we'll vote periodically. And instead of killing each other, we'll vote. And then if we don't like how the election turns out, we'll redouble our efforts and try, to win the next election. And I see that kind of as historically having worked pretty well for us. And yet in this time frame, I see, massive voter fraud, and yet the media pretends it's not there. And they keep acting as if it's a given that it's not there. And what worries me about that is this. As soon as one side realizes that the election is no longer serious and real, it's just a sham for one side to perpetually claim victory, their incentive to participate in that social construct is ended. And they'll go back to the old system. So I think that goes to what you're talking about, which is civil war. That's not the future I want for my children and grandchildren. And yet I fear if we don't get some of the things we're even facing in today's world right, that's where we're headed. So maybe you can kind of, pick that up and see if I'm making any sense there.
Yeah, I think you are. I'm struggling with what's happening in our current society right now. You mentioned the election where there was massive fraud and nobody really paid attention to it. And it's interesting how we're closer to a totalitarian state than we think. That our methods of communicating in the public square are now becoming very totalitarian. The message from one side gets sent out to everybody with a bullhorn all day long. The liberal message. The conservative message is under assault all day long. When you look at what's happening in our schools, there's generations coming out of our schools now that have been taught the statist message that collectivism is the answer, that social justice is our most important endeavor rather than individual sovereignty. So we've got literally millions and millions of people pouring out of our public schools that now are, nascent totalitarians. They're ready to grab that message, and they're ready to give the administrations who have a progressive view enormous power to change how we live and what we do and what we can do in our lives. And slowing that down is going to be a huge challenge. Again, I'm fearful that we're going to be able to, that I think we're headed for a civil war.
Yeah, I'm worried that you could be right about that. But even if you're not, it's a very interesting book, and I think instructive, and I think worth reading. But how about if you just take a moment to tell our viewers and listeners how they can follow the work that you do? Not just, you do more than just write books. So the whole 9 yards, how all things James Kenna.
All right, well, thanks for that opportunity, George. First of all, you can find 2084 American Apocalypse on Amazon.com. It's in paperback and Kindle format. I also have written 2 other books. One's called We've Been Had, which is an assessment of the leftist movements in America, and an earlier one, which is called Insurrection Resurrection, which is a bit of a satire. The premise is Thomas Jefferson comes back to life in modern America and is appalled at what he sees. So a bit of a tongue-in-cheek book, but it's a fun read. I also write a lot of articles and expositions and papers that describe my philosophy. You can see those on my website, which is jameskena.com, JAMESKEENA.com. And so you can read my thoughts on philosophy, politics, and life.
Very good. That's awesome. So James Keena, KEENA.com is the place to go. There they can get it all, I guess. Of course, also places like, for the books at least, obviously, you can get those at
Amazon.
Amazon. There we go. Amazon. Yep. All righty. Well, thanks so much. It's been great to have this conversation with you, and I hope our viewers and listeners will follow you. I think they'll find it very interesting, and I think this book sounds great. I'm looking forward to reading it, and I may end up giving it out to members of my family as a Christmas gift, because I do think that we need to inculcate our values where freedom matters, and we don't necessarily do that by watching what's on Netflix. But anyhow, I just want to remind our listeners, if they want to rebroadcast or any more information, they can go to our website, ccrshow.com. Don't go away. The Conservative Commandos will be right back.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day, and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. We're glad you stuck around. Melissa and I have enjoyed the opportunity to spend this time with you. We appreciate the fact that you pick us to bring you news, to bring you analysis. And Melissa, how can folks follow what you do? You're a sharp mind. You're a great source for things. So how do they keep up with you on the days that you are not here on Conservative Commandos?
Well, I'm on Parler at Melissa Isaac, just at Melissa Isaac, and it's Isaac with a K. And on Facebook, just Melissa Isaac, again, Isaac with a K. And my law firm is the Isaac Law Firm, Attorneys for Men, men's rights lawyers. So that's where you keep up with me.
Excellent. Well, I'm George Landreth, and you can follow me at Frontiers of Freedom. That's the organization I head. The website there is very simple, ff.org. And then on Twitter, I'm G Landreth. That's GLANDRITH. And then on Parler, I'm Real George Landreth. So don't have to lose track of us when we're not here. But we are glad you've spent this time with us, and we do want to tell you we're looking forward to seeing you again. The Conservative Commandos will be back tomorrow. We'll see you on TV and on radio, but until then, God bless.